The Temple of Eternal Ascension stood like a monument to impossibility, its crystalline spires reaching toward the three moons of Cathara Prime. For 6,000 cycles, pilgrims from across the galactic communion had traveled here to witness the blade of the first dawn, a weapon so ancient, so impossibly heavy, that legend claimed only the gods themselves could wield it. High Priest Vectharan, his 6 arms adorned with ceremonial rings, gestured toward the blade with reverence. The human delegation stood before him, their plain uniforms a stark contrast to the ornate robes of the Catharan clergy. "Behold," Vectharan's voice resonated through his translator implant, "the most sacred relic in the known galaxy, forged in the heart of a dying star by the precursors themselves. Its weight transcends mere physics. It is heavy with divine purpose." Adam, the junior xenoarchaeologist, squinted at the weapon. It sat on a hovering pedestal, surrounded by force fields and prayer candles. The blade itself was unremarkable, about a meter long, slightly curved, with a worn handle wrapped in what looked like leather. "How heavy are we talking?" Orla asked, her Irish accent cutting through the temple's hushed atmosphere. As the expedition's materials engineer, she approached everything with practical curiosity. Vectharan's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. 12,000 of your kilograms, human. The strongest of my people, those who can lift a dozen times their body weight, cannot budge it even a millimeter. Gravitic harnesses fail. Anti-grav platforms malfunction in its presence. The blade chooses to be immovable. "Right," Orla said, stepping closer. "And you're sure it's not just, locked down or something?" The priest's crystalline eyes flashed with something between offense and pity. "For 6 millennia, champions from every species in the communion have attempted to lift the blade of the first dawn. Warriors who could crush stone with their bare appendages. Psionic masters who could move mountains with their minds. All have failed. Only the worthy, only gods, may lift this blade." Adam was already running scans with his handheld analyzer, much to the visible distress of the attending clergy. "Boss, you seeing these readings?" Orla leaned over his shoulder. "Tungsten carbide composite, high carbon content, some kind of titanium alloy in the core." She paused. "Adam, that's steel," he finished. "Really, really old steel, with some interesting metallurgy, sure, but—" He looked up at the priest. "Your Holiness, this isn't a divine artifact. This is just a really well-made sword." Vectharan's 4 nostrils flared. "Blasphemy? The weight alone proves its divine nature." "Does it, though?" Orla walked around the pedestal, her eyes tracking the force field generators. "Could you shut these off for a moment?" "Absolutely not. The protections exist to spare pilgrims from the shame of their inevitable failure." "Or," Adam suggested quietly, "they exist to hide something." 20 minutes of theological debate later, Vectharan finally agreed to deactivate the force fields, primarily to prove these arrogant humans wrong. A crowd had gathered, word spreading through the temple that the newcomers from Earth were about to embarrass themselves spectacularly. Orla approached the blade, flexing her fingers. She was tall for a human woman, athletic from years of field work, but hardly impressive compared to the massive Catharans surrounding her. "Just so we're clear," she said, "if I lift this, we're not going to have an international incident, right?" "You cannot lift it," Vectharan said with absolute certainty. "You are but flesh and water, human. You are not gods." Orla shrugged. "Fair enough." She reached down, gripped the handle with both hands, and lifted. The blade came up smoothly, easily, as if it weighed no more than a broom handle. Orla turned it over in her hands, examining the edge, the balance, the craftsmanship. "Huh. Nice piece, actually. Good weight distribution. Probably about, 15 kilos? 20 at most?" The silence in the temple was absolute. Vectharon's 6 arms trembled. Impossible! Impossible! No mortal can— Here. Orla offered the blade to Adam, who took it one-handed, nearly dropping it. Bloody hell, that's heavier than it looks. He steadied his grip, muscles straining. But yeah, definitely liftable. Maybe 30 kilos? 40? The high priest staggered backward. But we have measured it. 12,000 kilograms. Every instrument, every test. Orla tilted her head. What's your planet's gravity? 0.47 of your Earth standard. Why does that— Vectharon stopped mid-sentence, his crystalline eyes widening with horror. Right, Orla said gently. So for 6,000 years, you've been trying to lift an Earth-normal weight object in low gravity, with low-gravity physiology, while your instruments calibrated for your world multiplied the actual weight by your gravitational constant. Adam was grinning now. It's not that the blade is impossibly heavy, it's that you lot have hollow bones and low-density muscle tissue. This sword was made by someone from a high-gravity world, probably 1.2, 1.3 Gs. The precursors, Vectharon whispered. They were from a high-gravity world? Orla said, handing the blade back to a shell-shocked acolyte. This is just a really old human artifact. Carbon dating would put it at about 7th, 8th century? Viking era, maybe? Could have been left here by early explorers before we made official contact. But how did it? Yard sales, mostly likely, Adam interrupted cheerfully. Someone's great-great-great-grandmother probably sold off Grandpa's old sword collection. It gets shuffled around, ends up in some trader's cargo hold, gets sold as exotic alien relic to a Ketharan collector, and boom, instant religious icon. Orla pulled out her comm unit. We've got a database of historical artifacts back on the ship. I can probably track down which museum this was stolen from. Vectharon sat down heavily on the temple floor, all 6 arms covering his face. Around them, clergy members were having theological crises in real time. If it helps, Orla offered, it's still a really nice sword. The metallurgy is exceptional for its era. Worth keeping in a museum. Just maybe not a temple. 6,000 years, the priest whispered. 6,000 years of worship. Entire religious orders built around the immovable blade. And it was just heavy? Really heavy, Adam corrected. For you folks, anyway. As they left the temple, Orla glanced back at the chaos they'd left in their wake. Feel bad about that? Adam shrugged. Truth's important. Besides, we just solved a 6,000-year-old mystery. That's worth an existential crisis or two. True. Still, though, a yard sale bin. That's going to be one hell of a report to file. Behind them, the Temple of Eternal Ascension buzzed with the sound of faith being rebuilt on the foundation of physics rather than miracles. And somewhere in the archive ship Beagle, a database flickered to life, ready to inform yet another alien species that humans weren't gods. They were just used to carrying heavy things. The end.